2 days after the FBI dragged his executives out of their hotel rooms, FIFA re-elected him. He approved a $2 million payment to a friend, for work nobody can prove ever happened. Switzerland tried him twice. Twice, he walked away, and got paid $125,000 for the trouble. This is the story of FIFA, how the world's game was stolen. May 29, 2015. Zurich, Switzerland. 2 days after the arrests. 7 of his men in handcuffs. His organization under federal indictment. Sepp Blatter walks out on stage anyway. 209 football federations vote. Blatter wins by a near 2/3 majority. 4 days later, with no warning, he announces he's stepping down. Everyone assumed the FBI got him. They were wrong. What actually ended Sepp Blatter's reign had nothing to do with the 7 men arrested in Zurich. Episode 2, The Untouchable. Sepp Blatter ran FIFA for 17 years. In that time, nearly every official around him got arrested, banned, or indicted. But Blatter never did. Not because he wasn't involved. Because of how carefully he built the machine so it could never point back at him. Blatter became FIFA president in 1998. His method was simple: control the votes of the smallest federations on earth. Every national federation gets one vote. Thomas' vote counts exactly the same as Germany's. So Blatter built a development fund, hundreds of thousands of dollars sent directly to small federations, every single year. Officially, it was for grassroots football. Stadiums, equipment, youth programs. Unofficially, it bought him loyalty from the exact federations whose votes decided every election. Votes were the currency of this entire organization. And twice in 1 year, that currency got spent in ways that should have ended Blatter's career. First, his own re-election. May 2011. Mohammed bin Hammam, president of Asian football, finally challenges him. Bin Hammam flies to Trinidad to meet the Caribbean Football Union. 24 small nations, 24 votes. He hands them brown envelopes. $40,000 in cash each. In exchange for one thing, vote for bin Hammam. One delegate reports it immediately. FIFA's ethics committee opens an investigation within days. July 2011, bin Hammam is banned from football for life. He withdraws from the race. Blatter's only challenger, gone. He runs for re-election completely unopposed. The second time votes got spent that year, it wasn't for a presidency. It was for an entire World Cup. 6 months earlier, December 2010. FIFA's executive committee meets to choose hosts for 2 World Cups. 2018 goes to Russia. 2022 goes to Qatar, a desert nation that had never even qualified for a World Cup. 9 days before that vote, a private dinner takes place at the Élysée Palace in Paris. At the table, French President Nicolas Sarkozy, the Emir of Qatar, and Michel Platini, President of European Football, one of FIFA's most powerful voters. 9 days later, Platini votes for Qatar. Qatar wins, 14 votes to 8. Blatter himself later said Platini's block of votes was the difference. Here's where this story stops making sense. 2 months after that vote, February 2011, Blatter personally authorizes a payment out of FIFA's accounts. To Platini. 2 million Swiss francs. The reason on paper, advisory work Platini did for FIFA. Not last year. Not 5 years ago. Between 1998 and 2002. No invoice. No written contract. No record this money was ever owed, for over a decade. And Platini never once asked for it. Not in 2002. Not in 2005. Not in 2008. He asked for it in 2010, the same year he had dinner with the Emir of Qatar, 9 days before voting for Qatar's World Cup bid. 2 months after that vote, $2 million moves. Nobody can prove the two are connected. Nobody can prove they aren't. That payment sat quietly for 4 years. Until Swiss authorities started asking questions about the Qatar and Russia World Cup votes. While the world watched the FBI's case against the 7 men arrested in Zurich, Swiss prosecutors quietly opened a separate criminal investigation into Blatter himself. The Zurich arrests were never what ended Blatter's career. It was a $2 million question he couldn't fully answer. December 21, 2015. FIFA's own ethics committee bans Blatter from football. For 8 years. Platini banned alongside him, for the exact same payment. Platini had been the frontrunner to become FIFA's next president. That ban ended his candidacy on the spot. But both the men appealed, and both bans were later reduced to 6 years. It is important to note that a FIFA ban is not a criminal conviction. The Swiss criminal case was still very much alive. 7 years after the payment, prosecutors finally brought Blatter and Platini to trial for fraud. Their defense, a verbal agreement made sometime between 1998 and 2002, that Platini would be paid more later. No document, no witness, just two men's word given a decade after the fact. And the judges believed them. Not guilty. Prosecutors appealed. A second trial was ordered. March 2025, 10 years after the investigation began, the second verdict comes back. Acquitted. Again, on the very same verbal agreement argument. And to top it off, the court didn't stop there. It ordered Switzerland to pay Platini 180,000 francs. Blatter 110,000 francs as compensation for prosecuting them. Remember the 7 men arrested at dawn in that Zurich hotel? Most of them pleaded guilty. Some went to prison. The man who ran the entire organization for 17 years was tried twice for the same payment, walked away both times, and compensated. That is why they call him the untouchable. 17 years as president. 1 election won by eliminating his only rival. 1 World Cup vote that still raises questions. 0 criminal convictions. Today, Blatter is 90 years old. He still gives interviews. He still calls the Qatar World Cup vote a mistake, like he had nothing to do with it. The bribery case answered who took the money. The Platini payment answered how the man at the top stayed clean. But one question still remains. How did a desert nation with no football history, no stadiums, and summer temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius actually win the right to host the World Cup? That's what we dig into next, in episode 3. Subscribe now so you don't miss it.